Jack had been living undercover in the U.S. for 2 years. The KGB's first plan to get him a U.S. passport failed. This was their backup plan.
Plan B was get a degree, and that way you become a professional, and then you can enter the strata in society where you could do some significant damage. So we decided on City University, which had a very low tuition, and I still worked part-time as a bike messenger. I took overloads, I took courses in the summer. I raced through the program in 3 years. Through some hard work, brains, and some negotiation. I got 3 classes. I negotiated the grade up from an A- to an A. I was really proud of myself, and then I get caught into the dean's office.
Yeah, we're really proud of you, comrade. Okay. Since it appears that the Google censors and the YouTube censors have taken a nap, and I'm beyond giving a shit what other people think, I'm just going to go ahead and just go over some thoughts and ideas that have kind of maintained a element of truth over the last few years. Okay. Yeah, we're at war. We've been at war for a while. Have you noticed that everything that holds a family together, a community together, has been basically attacked since the 80s and 70s anyway. Fathers ripped apart from the mothers, feminism coming in. This has nothing to do with equality. It has to do with breaking relationships, breaking the bonds of a community. So this has been going on in the U.S. and Canada, regularly, since then. Now, this, is kind of shown in a couple of videos here. So I was just going over some people who claim to be Russian spies, because there's one actual spy, this dude over here, Yuri Brezhnev. Okay, just to be brief about this dude, he did defect, and he basically laid out the entire plan in '84, and he was at that time he's stating that the infiltration to destabilize and convert the U.S. into a communist Marxist state has been ongoing for 15 years, and I guess that would be the hippie generation. So the hippie generation is essentially part of the indoctrination, I guess you can call it that. And following the hippies would be the current Antifa, the woke. I'm sorry to say, but a lot of this LGB, anything that basically divides, including, the thing that we went through with the elders, hereditary elders are called from Washasha. Do you remember what it was? Because it was made up. It wasn't real. It was 4 guys went and rented an office up in northern BC, claimed to be hereditary leaders, and the media was just waiting for them to set up, and then they had their cover story, and it was basically just indoctrination because it's been going on for a long time. So I think what's interesting here is when you listen to what this guy has to say back in '84 and how much it means now, and why is this worth bringing up? Well, we got time to think about what's going to happen coming forward. I mean, obviously you want to align yourself up with a friendly, you want to encourage a discussion. You certainly want to bring back what makes Canada Canada. We have to think about our nation as a whole. We got to put away the divisiveness and all those kinds of talk that are politically incorrect. That is no longer valid. Okay, so it doesn't matter. All those arguments and all that garbage doesn't matter anymore. It has no weight. Okay, none whatsoever. And they don't have the ability to take away your job either if you say something they don't like. Try to take away my job. So what have I got to lose? I can turn around and I can say I pity the poor person who calls me a cis white man, because I'll tell you, you call me a cis, I can't think of a greater insult. It doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter what I am or what it is. It's how I live my life and how I can contribute and how you can contribute and basically get back to being a functional society that is based on inalienable rights, freedoms, competition. Competition is always better than communism, and this is the fatal flaw. They'll always lose. They will never be able to. The Chinese are doing a pretty good job, but they're essentially I don't think they're going to make it as far as like being able to overrun our society. The 5G threat. The way I start to understand, some people are caught up with the transmission and the signals and all that kind of stuff, and how that can be a threat. Yeah, that has some kind of basis in physics, but it doesn't have any basics in practicality. If you're going to irradiate people with cell phone towers, there's better ways of doing it. Yeah, you just use radiation. Like why bother with all that? But the thing with the 5G though is that it enables microphones and cameras and surveillance and basically 3D mapping of everything around you, because everything is going to have a location. Everything's going to have a location. So what I learned about how Google tracks your phone and you as an individual and how it would work is the actual location data that follows you around daily. You have a routine. There's no two people sharing the same space at the same time. So your coordinates throughout the day are going to be very specific, and they're not going to belong to anyone else. So that's how they keep track of you and all that, So that's retroactive kind of information. Like if you're under some kind of investigation, you can be retroactively discovered if you're at the scene of the crime. I don't really have a problem with that. Now, as long as you have the freedom, so it takes a court order to go in and break the encryption keys. I guess to comply with court orders, Google, Facebook, YouTube will have to have an ability to hand over this information that generally is not seen by anybody, not even them, because it's encrypted. So you have an encryption key. The server that you talk to, one file in the Google complex will have the matching key, and with that your stuff opens up. Now, a third key could arguably be made for criminal and magistrate things like judgments. Judge could order this information for a specific day, and if it's done in an open, fair, manner, I don't have a problem with that. Why, leverage that technology. Where it gets a little dicey is when you turn around and are able to tactically see and what's going on. Like when groups you're getting together, like you don't want to have a momentum going and then it have an effort from the state to oppose you because they don't like crowds. I've had to go through that in my lovely town of Timmins, where just working doing sound and dealing with bands on a very low minor level, kind of like a hobby level. It wasn't even a legit business, but it was met with an organized resistance that was very puzzling. It almost made you wonder if you were going crazy. Like, why would city people and the police and all the power people have anything to wanted to do with what I'm involved with? It doesn't make any sense. But yeah, it does. It did make. It ended up being a real thing, and had everything to do with just those awful personalities and wanting to use the with figuring that if you're elected to office that you have the right to use this stuff and you're the custodian, which is a crazy kind of thought. But it's kind of a Marxist thought, poisoned ideas, and when you feel it, you recognize it, and it stinks. Okay, now if things go the wrong way, you know, we don't get rid of this liberal government and install. Right now, we got to look at conservatives. Like, you look at the job that Ford is doing, you look at the job that Trump is doing, you look at the job that I forget the guy's name in Alberta, what he's doing. They're really concerned, and it's all about rebuilding. It's all about jobs, and it's all about, you know, maintaining the identity of Canada. Okay, so, you know, those are the people you want to encourage into the government until they become corrupted and start, you know, doing wars. Basically, every 20, 25 years, the power will eventually corrupt itself. The left turning into Marxist-Leninists, the right turning into the industrial military complex. Okay, it will go there. It went there with George W. Bush, and it went. And with Obama, scarily into the Marxist-Leninist, more than you could imagine. There was some seeds that were planted during the Obama administration that came to fruition in the Trump administration, and we've been dealing with that stuff. Had Trump not been elected and Hillary been elected, she had already sold out in a major way, and they were already, you know, in criminal behaviors going on. So basically, we would be dealing with jackboots, you know, and they'd be basically doing nothing but just kicking people's ass just because they enjoy doing that. So they'll just take the power and, you know, and slowly take away people's freedoms until they have no choice but just submit. And, you know, through the media and through everyone who's making records in Hollywood, they're all connected. It's all the same people. They're all the ones that hate. They don't hate. They hate Trump. They hate white people. They hate you. Cancel culture. All that stuff. It's all Russian propaganda, demoralization. And I'm gonna let this play. Listen to this. What this guy has to say, and figure it out for yourself.
Sensible conclusions in the interests of defending themselves, their families, their community, and their country. It's a great brainwashing process which goes very slow, and it's divided in 4 basic stages. The first one being demoralization. It takes from 15 to 20 years to demoralize a nation. Why that many years? Because this is the minimum number of years which requires to educate one generation of students in the country of your enemy, exposed to the ideology of the enemy. In other words, Marxism-Leninism ideology is being pumped into the soft heads of at least 3 generations of American students without being challenged or counterbalanced by the basic values of Americanism, American patriotism. The result you can see. Most of the people who graduated in the 60s, dropouts or half-baked intellectuals, are now occupying the positions of power in the government, civil service, business, mass media, educational system. You are stuck with them. You cannot get rid of them. They are contaminated. They are programmed to think and react to certain stimuli in a certain pattern. You cannot change their mind, even if you expose them to authentic information, even if you prove that white is white and black is black. You still cannot change the basic perception and the logic of behavior. In other words, these people, the process of demoralization is complete and irreversible. To get rid society of these people, you need another 20 or 15 years to educate a new generation of patriotically minded and common sense people who would be acting in favor and in the interests of the United States society.
And yet these people who've been programmed and, as you say, in place and who are favorable to an opening with the Soviet concept, these are the very people who would be marked for extermination in this country?
Most of them, yes. Simply because the psychological shock when they will see in future what the beautiful society of equality and social justice means in practice, obviously they will revolt. They will be very unhappy, frustrated people. And the Marxist-Leninist regime does not tolerate these people. Obviously they will join the links of dissenters dissidents.
Yes.
Unlike in present United States.
Right. Basically, he was saying as soon as they get their way, the people who are pushing for the wokeness that has been going on, they'll be the first ones lined up against the wall. So, kind of not a smart thing to do. Smart people don't do that, and that's kind of one of the downfalls of this whole woke movement. It doesn't work, for one thing. It's anti business. So movies and companies that bring on this ideology fail. Star Wars failed, and they just come in with a new ideology, and it's completely alien. The past, our Canadian and American cultures are alien to the people who are now in power. And the intellectuals, and pretty soft. They got a cushy little job, and they believe in their ways, and they were rewarded for believing that, because that was the intention. They did their job, and they were useful idiots. So they should just be thankful that they didn't get their way, because they would have been the first up against the wall, but they didn't make it to the wall because it's kind of hard to overthrow capitalism. It's kind of hard to get rid of competitive people.
Exposure to true information does not matter anymore. A person who was demoralized is unable to assess true information. The facts tell nothing to him. Even if I shower him with information, with authentic proof, with documents, with pictures, even if I take him by force to the Soviet Union and show him concentration camp, he will refuse to believe it until he is going to receive a kick in his fat bottom. When a military boot crashes then he will understand, but not before that. That's the tragic of the situation of demoralization. So basically America is stuck with demoralization, and unless, even if you start right now, here, this minute, you start educating new generation of Americans, it will still take you 15 to 20 years to turn the tide of ideological perception of reality.
Okay, yeah, and this brings up our hope, which is the iPhone generation, the ones that are 22, 23 years old, under 25, I suppose, that basically grew up with an iDevice and computers and the ability to access information and educated themselves. There's truly a gifted group of people in that generation, because they've been able to freely develop themselves in their own way, for the most part, using free information and the freedoms, and they really were probably the most privileged generation to be able to get this. I mean, whatever interest your fancy, you can basically find a tutorial on it and learn it. And when you're plastic mind at that, as growing up, I mean, you're really, there's hope there. The indoctrination doesn't seem to be going on to anyone in that age group. Now, really the concern is now the younger preteen generation that have been exposed. Some of the curriculum was just terrible, and I don't know if it's with the gender problems and and that confusion, and even the climate business that is also very confusing. What the hope for them is to just again educate yourself, realize this is a good versus bad kind of thing, and and you can do your part by being on the right side of the fence, and just participating or standing or enjoying the show when it does come down, which probably won't be long. So there's hope, certainly. Now I want to I'll just going to get to the end here.
Danger of socialist, communist, whatever, welfare state, big brother government. If people will fail to grasp the impending danger of that development, nothing ever can help United States. You may kiss goodbye to your freedom, including freedoms to homosexuals, to prison inmate, all this freedom will vanish, evaporate in 5 seconds, including your precious lives. The second thing, the moment at least part of United States population is convinced that the danger is real, they have to force their government. And I'm not talking about sending letters, signing petitions, and all this beautiful, noble activity. I'm talking about forcing United States government to stop aiding communism. Because there is no other problem more burning and urgent than to stop the Soviet military-industrial complex from destroying whatever is left of the free world. And it is very easy to do. No credits, no technology, no money, no political or diplomatic recognition, and of course no such idiocy as grain deals to USSR. The Soviet people, 270 millions of Soviets, will be eternally thankful to you if you stop aiding a bunch of murderers who sit now in Kremlin and whom President Reagan respectfully calls government. They do not govern anything, least of all such complexity as the Soviet economy. So basic, two very simple, maybe too simplistic answers or solutions, but nevertheless they are the only solutions. Educate yourself, understand what's going on around you. You are not living at the time of peace. You are in a state of war, and you have precious little time to save yourself. You don't have much time, especially if you are talking about young generation. There's not much time left for convulsions to the beautiful disco music. Very soon it will go, just overnight. If we are talking about capitalists or wealthy businessmen, I think they are selling the rope on which they will hang very soon. If they don't stop, if they cannot curb their unsettled desire for profit, and if they keep on trading with the monster of the Soviet communism, they are going to hang very soon. And they will pray to be killed, but unfortunately they will be sent to Alaska probably to manage industry of slaves. It's simplistic. I know it sounds unpleasant. I know Americans don't like to listen to things which are unpleasant. But I have defected not to tell you the stories about such idiocy as microfilm, James Bond type espionage. This is garbage. You don't need any espionage anymore. I have come to talk about survival. It's a question of survival of this system. You may ask me, what is it in for me? Survival, obviously, because unlike, as I said, I am now in your boat. If we sing together, we'll sing beautifully together. There is no other place on this planet to defect to.
Okay. Yeah. That kind of blew my mind when I first came across that a few years ago. So, yeah, we have a challenge here. Basically, educate yourself, like you said. Choose what you are, like reestablish bonds with your nationality, with your family, with the land. You are a founder. Like my ancestors are founding generation from France in the 1600s. We're not, or settlers, or whatever you want to call it. And we need to recognize what we are, where we're from, and be proud of that. And just elect the right people and humiliate the fools. They know nothing else. Just make fun of them, laugh at them. Just don't give them power.